What is going on, guys? So in today's video, we're going to be going over how to build your own Claude Skills, okay? So if you don't know what Claude Skills are, Claude Skills is a way to inject context into Claude at any point. Like you essentially upload specific skills, like specific, let's say copywriting frameworks that you have as a skill, and it's able to reference them in any conversation. So it's like almost like how when you have a Claude project or a GPT project, but it's now this context extrapolated can be referenced and called and retrieved from in any conversation as long as you request for it. Now, and obviously it's extremely useful, especially if you have different nuances, different processes that you want to always be able to reference, right? Like let's say for me, I write a lot of content on Twitter. I have a skill for writing threads, a skill for how I write regular tweets, how I write like my lead magnets, a skill referencing like my market research on my audience. So Claude actually made it extremely easy to build a Claude Skills just through their interface. So the best way to do is it's just a simple prompt. Like it's literally like nothing. So all you do is I want to create a Claude skill using the information provided. This demo, I'm going to be making a skill on Claude on my market research with my audience. Okay, so the goal of this skill is to be able to provide context in Claude on my Twitter account's audience. That way it has context / an understanding, an understanding on my audience, like what resonates with them, what doesn't, their pain points, cannot spell, their pain points, desires, etc. Think of it as injecting market research. And for me, when you make a Claude skill, you can't just create a skill out of thin air. Like you actually have to have a like specific process yourself. Like let's say you make like video ads, right? And you have a specific, what the heck? Like let's say you make video ads, right? And you have a specific like script writing process or a specific way that you like to format like your VO prompts or your Sora prompts, whatever it may be, right? Like the whole point of these skills is injecting those processes that are in your brain on how you do things into a skill and be able to call them from Claude whenever you want, okay? So you can't just make shit up out of thin air, all right? That's the key thing. You actually have to be like, have a proven process yourself, okay? So I want you to create a Claude skill using the information provided. The goal of this skill is to be able to providing Claude on my Twitter account. So yeah, the goal of this skill is to be able to provide context in Claude on my Twitter account's like audience, okay? And what I'm going to include is I actually have this from Notebook LM, okay? So I injected like all this context on like my lead magnets and Twitter threads. And I'm just going to copy and paste this market research doc I had it make. And it's actually a pretty good description. So I'm going to paste that in here. And I'm going to hit enter. So what you'll see here is Claude actually already has a skill within Claude to create other skills, okay? So just me telling it I want to create a Claude skill will reference its skill in Claude to create other skills, and now that it has this information, it will actually make the necessary document. It will make the actual necessary zip file to be able to upload it as a skill, and you'll see that in a second. And while it's making it, just to show you guys how to create custom skills, like what the folder, you'll actually need to make a zip file for this to upload into Claude, okay? And it's gonna need to have two things. So this zip file is gonna have the folder of the said skill name, right? The skill.md, so a markdown file of the skill. What this is, and Claude this is actually what Claude will be making right now, is what this is a breakdown of what this skill entails. Like what's it for, what's its use cases, when should it be called, things like that, and a folder for resources for additional data to retrieve from it. Okay, so this isn't automatically called the resources side. So the resources side is when it needs it. So I would include this skill.markdown file for this demo would probably include information about my audience, right? Like general information about my audience. So in this resource folder, maybe I include like DM conversations I've had with my audience, or also this lead magnets and Twitter threads data, right? Because in these two markdown files I fed into Notebook LM, it actually has like all my Twitter threads, all my lead magnets with their engagement metrics, okay? So it's this additional data that can potentially be retrieved, right? Like it's as an option, right? Because we don't want to overstuff it with context, right? In the skill.markdown file. But the skill.markdown file will be just a general like overview of what the skill is about and what should be included in it. And an example of this is, so this is like a brand guideline skill for that Anthropic posted. So like here's a brand guideline skill. This overview, this skill provides Acme's officials brand guidelines for blah, blah, blah. And just gives an overview on like their official brand colors, things like that. That way, if you're making any like art or whatever bullshit in Claude for the brand, right? You can inject this in, right? And call for this and it'll automatically know what your guys' brand colors are and like the typography and shit like that, right? So similarly, if I were to write content or have it brainstorm ideas, it would inject this markdown file that it's creating, and it would then just be able to understand what my audience is about, what resonates with them, its pain points, X, Y, and Z, okay? All right, so finished making it. So what happens now is you can download a skill file. I have no idea why. When you do it through Claude, it makes it as a .skill file for whatever reason instead of like an actual zip file. So what we can do is just download this, right? And as you can see here, right, it's a .skill file that we just downloaded. So all you have to do is just fucking rename it to a zip file. I don't know why it does this. So just rename it to a zip file, .zip, yes. And you can open it up. And then Twitter intelligence.audience, and you can look at the markdown file in Cursor or whatever way that you display markdown files in Google Docs. And then go through this and change anything that you don't like, right? So this is the one that Claude made. Obviously, it's not going to be perfect on its first try. Like, this is just a general framework using Claude's, like, just using Claude to write this for you. The best skills, like, read through this, see if this is actually what you want to be retrieved when you want for whatever you're trying to do, right? Whatever the end goal is, like, would you want this injected as context for that specific goal, right? So read through it, make whatever changes you need, okay? So I actually already made one for this, and because I actually like had my own version that I liked more than this, right? But use this as a baseline, change whatever you need, right? And then what you then want to do is, so that skills file is always going to be recalled, right? But what you want to also include is your performance and your references folder. So this will automatically create a references folder. What you want to do is include any additional data that you want to, again, that you want to be retrieved, okay? So in here, we have this performance-data. This is just a more in detail description of like all the data from this analysis from Notebook LM, okay? So like this data right here isn't like extremely important to be retrieved every single time, right? Then that's why it's under the references. But if we, for whatever reason, as we're talking to Claude and it's referencing this skill, like, and I asked like, hey, like what are some like top performers with my audience? It can go through this, find this file, and then reference it and know exactly what to talk about, okay? And again, you can include shit into this folder as well, right? You don't just have to be, you're not just stuck to what Claude includes in here. Maybe I include copywriting frameworks that's worked well. The actual data I was referring to, like the lead magnets and the threads markdown file I was referencing earlier, so where it has like more concrete data, right? Include whatever you want into the references file that you think would be useful for your end goal to retrieve, okay? And then from there on, all you have to do then is go to Claude, hit capabilities, and then scroll down to skills and just hit upload skill. And then you can upload just drag and drop that zip file, and then you're good to go and you can reference it. So I can show you guys how it works on my side. So look what I did here. I told it now, this is a brand new chat I made, no project. I just told it, tell me what type of tweets do not convert or get views from my audience. It knows to read from my skills, right? And Claude is referencing the main skill files, be able to respond back to me with exactly what doesn't convert with my audience, because that is what's told in the skills markdown file that I included, right? And then I could go deeper, like, and actually in this skill, I included my data on like my threads and lead magnets. Like, what type of lead magnets should I not do? Like, should I not do? Should I not do? Do you have examples of what hasn't converted? And let's see what it says. And look at that, reading the lead magnets data, see what hasn't converted well. And look at that shit, right? Like, so you guys, you can do this thing for like so many different skills, and you can stack different skills together, which is the cool part, right? Because right now, all I've included in here is say like information on like my personal brand, my audience, like what resonates with them, their pain points, desires, all that shit, right? What I can then do is create a skill on how I write Twitter threads, let's say. And I can stack that market research with the skill of market research plus the skill of how I write Twitter threads and put them together to write threads in exactly my style and my frameworks, along with along with what actually resonates with my audience and has context on both now, and I can create that from any conversation. But yeah, guys, this was just a quick overview on how to use Claude Skills and how they work and how to just build them yourself through Claude. It's pretty straightforward, and you can also do it manually too. Like, Claude has a pretty good documentation on their website on how to create custom skills. And yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for this video, and thank you guys so much.